Yeah. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Uninterrupted with Evan Lee. I'm Naheed Nenshi, leader of Alberta's New Democrats, and if you're with us tonight, you probably know why you're here. Last night, we had a pretty shocking thing happen at the Alberta Next panel. And if you've been anywhere in Alberta today, you have heard the name Evan Lee. What happened to Evan was, in my opinion, shocking, gross, and unconscionable. But we got to hear a little bit from a great mind and a great advocate. And tonight, we're going to give him the time to take the mic uninterrupted. So I'm going to ask Evan for his perspective on what happened last night, how his day has gone today, and then we will have the opportunity to have the conversation that he wanted to have last night. And I am looking forward to it. So, Evan Lee, welcome. We're thrilled to have you here.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
tell me what happened last night. How did you find yourself at Spruce Meadows, and what happened when you got there?
This last week, my friends and I have seen some things on the news about the Alberta teachers strike, and we were very concerned for the future of what's going to happen this October, especially because me and my friends are in grade 12,
Yeah.
and we have university applications and we have diploma exams as well. And we also it's school is such a daily part of our lives, and we need to be able to learn. So regarding this teacher's strike, I then saw that the Alberta Next panel would be traveling in Calgary, and I kind of signed up last minute with my friends as well. And we were grateful that we were supposed to be given this opportunity to speak at this panel and have open dialogue, respectful open dialogue with the governing uh, authorities. And yeah, so we arrived at the location, and we talked to some people there, and we sat down, and yeah, and then uh, in the third topic, I stood up and approached the microphone to ask a question. And unfortunately, my microphone was cut by the Alberta Next panel, which I find is disappointing to the nature of how the panel was set up and what was promised.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just that your mic got cut off, right? It got a little worse than that. And, I'll say that we, Alberta's New Democrats, have also been doing community gatherings all summer called Better Together in big cities and small towns, almost as big as the events you were going to. And I pride myself on saying we never cut anyone's mic off. But these things have had a lot of cutting off of mics, a lot of, frankly, belittling and insulting comments to citizens, which I just find so objectionable and so disgusting. But that's not really what made you famous today, right? It's not just that he cut off the mic. What did he say to you?
Yes, so he did afterwards make a comment about corporal punishment and implying that I should be spanked more. Which, at first I was surprised, and afterwards I was completely appalled by this comment. And regardless of any political sentiment, this is not acceptable behavior by any government, no matter who is in power and no matter the views of whoever is in power.
I was at an event myself, but my phone exploded at that moment, saying, oh my gosh, right? What has happened? But what I find super interesting, and I didn't know who you were, but what I found was super interesting is what happened after the fact, and just how you've used that for advocacy. So maybe the easiest way to deal with this is just tell me about your day today. It must be the craziest day you've ever had.
Yeah, I woke up and I received contacts from many different organizations and institutions, and I've taken reporting from CBC, Global News, and the Calgary Herald. And it's very motivating to see the support that we students have. And we students, I am simply a student. There's no political affiliation that
Yeah.
I have with any of either the UCP or the NDP or any other political views. I simply have one opinion, is that Alberta students deserve to have fair learning conditions, and we deserve to have this strike's impact mitigated. And it's simply disappointing that the current government has not strived to do so. And that is why I asked the question yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a little bit more about today because you also you blew up Reddit. You've been on social media everywhere. You are definitely the star of the day. And I got to tell you, I heard your interview driving back from Edmonton to Jasper this evening. I heard your interview on CBC Edmonton. Folks, seek out this interview. One, to hear a little more from Evan, though I'm going to go there with him in a second. But also, if you are interested in doing media stuff, listen to this guy. He was so good. I feel like I should use some of this for media training. But I will ask you one other kind of processy thing. Then I really want to get into some conversations about education, which is, I did see that Bruce McAllister. Now, this is a guy I know really well. He used to be a journalist. He interviewed me all the time when he was the host of the morning show. Then he became an MLA for the region around Calgary, and I met with him a lot when I was mayor. And now he's a very, very senior leader in the premier's office. He's sort of her number two guy. So given that, I would have expected a little more professionalism from him. But look, he did apologize today. So how do you take that?
I recognize that Bruce has made an effort to apologize on X, formerly Twitter. However, I do not think that this is his behavior can be simply waved away by a tweet. And I am not outraged. I'm not angry at any of those representing the UCP government. I am simply deeply disappointed, and I am personally, as an Albertan, I feel embarrassed that because this has reached the world stage,
Yeah.
and it is. I, as a high school student, should not be in this position right now. There should, in no world, should a high school student be receiving all of these, and it's been very deplorable.
Yeah, no kidding. And joking, half jokingly, I'll say, does anyone your age actually use X or Twitter? Like, will the audience here really have even seen that apology?
Um, in all honesty, I do think Twitter it is first of all an informal platform.
Hmm.
Second of all, it's a platform that yes is not used by youth mainly, except maybe some chronically online youth.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
now,
one of those. No, I'm a chronically online old person. Um, did he call you? Did he call your
no,
parents?
I haven't received any contact, and most importantly, my parents have not received any contact from Bruce McAllister personally, which I
Or from anyone
feel
else?
no, which I feel, I mean, I did post a purpose-made email on on Reddit on
Yeah.
platforms, and if the news media and regular high school students, regular teachers, regular workers in the healthcare, in emergency services, they have all reached out to me. And I would like to thank my friends as well for helping me sort through some of these emails. If they can contact me so easily, I don't see any world in where Bruce McAllister somehow can't find my contact.
Well, I
So,
mean, look, we didn't know who you were. And this morning, I asked my staff saying, can you help find this kid? Because I just want to apologize to him myself if no one else will. And like, I think we found you in 4 minutes on Reddit. It wasn't really that complicated. So, and they've got all the resources of the government. So let me say this to you. I'm not the government, but I am a member of the Legislative Assembly. And I strongly believe that no citizen should ever be belittled, no citizen should ever be silenced, no citizen should ever be insulted. And if I may say, probably not as smart as you because I understand you're a full IB student, but I had my first experience in politics not dissimilar to what happened with you. I ended up being in an audience where I had a set to with the then prime minister when I was about 16 years old. But he treated me respectfully. We had some fun. We joshed each other even though we disagreed. And it became the lead item on the national news that night. That's how it should work. So listen, I'm not the government, but I am an MLA. So for what it's worth, let me say I'm really sorry this happened to you. And as much fun as this has been, and I hope it's been a little fun for you today, it's so wrong. It's so wrong. And I don't want any other 16 or 17-year-old kid saying, I don't want to get engaged in the community or in the world around me. I don't want anybody thinking that way. Forget 16 or 17-year-old kid. I don't want any citizen to think that we live in a society where the government doesn't want to hear from you. I don't care if I agree or disagree with you. I want to hear from you. Now, sometimes I'll mix it up with you and I'll say, listen, I disagree with you. Have you thought about A, B, and C? But I think that's democracy. So I'm really sorry for what's happened. But you know what? I want to give you your say. So why don't you tell us what you were trying to say last night when your mic got cut off? If you want to ask me any questions, I'm happy to answer them as best I can. But I want to talk to you a little bit about your experience as a student in the education system right now at one of the finest public schools in Calgary, in Alberta, in the world, and how you're experiencing that now. So the mic is yours, Evan. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, again, I am just a student and I represent
Never just. You are a student. You are who you are.
I'm a student, and my views are entirely my own. And the only thing I am asking for is for this strike to be mitigated, and especially its impact to be mitigated, specifically among those who may not have the opportunity to access private tutoring, to access expensive resources. And that was one of my main concerns because I do have peers in that situation, and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
it's already extremely hard for them, even in this, even without the teachers striking. Um, and regardless of any political sentiment, it's just not something that should have progressed to this level. I know that a deal was made or a deal was offered back in this spring or summer, and it was rejected by the Alberta's Teachers Association for not being adequate. And I have personally witnessed many instances of schools trying their best and my teachers try their best to provide for my classmates and those who may have special needs in the classroom. I have also been friends with them as well, and they have voiced their concerns. But the teachers, they are simply just stretched too thin. I believe Alberta education right now is in triage. It's like when you go to the hospital and the nurse says, "Oh, we have to treat this acute care patient." Who needs the most care right now. And unfortunately, we have to overlook some other issues. So even though that this is a very, very difficult time for us students, and it should not have progressed to this level, I believe we should still stand in support of the teachers. And I hope that this can be resolved very soon. And I hope the government, especially if your caucus can try and additionally motivate the current government to uh, resolve this as soon as possible.
Yeah, I feel you so much on this. I grew up in Calgary, in Northeast Calgary, and I was one of those kids whose family wouldn't even dream of private tutoring or anything like that. And I was lucky enough to graduate from one of the best public schools in the world. And you too are going to what should be one of the best schools in the world, which is kind of a crazy thing to say. If you think about it, Alberta is a small place in the middle of the often frozen Canadian prairie, but previous governments have set these incredibly lofty standards. In 2018, Alberta students ranked in the top 5 in science, math, and reading. That's a big deal. And I worry now, as I talk to teachers and parents and students, that we're losing that advantage more quickly than we could have imagined. So you go to Sir Winston Churchill High School, which is at one time was the largest high school in Alberta. I don't know if it still is. Um, just tell me about your days there. How crowded are the hallways? How big are your classes? What kind of folks do you have classes with?
Of course, yeah. Yes, there is a crowding problem in our school, and it's gone to a point where the normal stairwells, are not adequate for a fire evacuation. So, recently,
Wow.
last year, they've installed new external stairwells just for use in case of emergency. And
I didn't know
it's
that. Wow.
it's yeah, it's very unreal, to be honest. And uh the students are trying their best, and I know that the teachers are also trying their best. And regarding your point on Alberta education, I am proud to have grown up in Alberta. I'm proud to have gone through the Alberta school system, but I do also recognize that it has taken a turn in recent years, especially after the pandemic. I believe not enough was done to sort of help our teachers. And currently, when I'm applying to universities as a grade 12 student, they recognize that Alberta has a rigorous curriculum. They
Had.
recognize
Yeah.
that we still are continuing the tradition of standardized testing, right? So our diplomas, so they recognize that, and they do uh, continue to give us a 4% boost in BC and Ontario, and that's something I'm
Eh,
very proud
Is
of.
that right? I actually did not know that. Okay.
They do. They do. For example, UBC does advertise a 4% boost for any Alberta student, and that's because our education, it should be and is recognized as rigorous and as world class. However, I do fear that the steps that are taken in the coming weeks will maybe impact this, whether positively or negatively. It is up to those in power to decide.
Yeah. I want to respond a little bit to what you said about education, but I can't resist asking you a little bit more about you. My first question is, how'd you get so good at this? Where'd you learn to be an activist? Is this something new to you or?
I don't really see myself as an activist. I think to be fair, I was at the right place at the right time. I took the opportunity to speak up. And a lot of people out after the panel ended did congratulate me on my courageousness, but it's something that I think each of us has within us, this ability to see something wrong and to act upon it and to speak up about it.
Oh
And
my God. Mhm.
And I'd also like to, more importantly, as we're talking about education, my teachers, and I believe I represent all students when I'm saying this, my teachers are my mentors and our
Yeah.
teachers are our role models. And I'd like to thank all of my teachers who personally know me and who've contacted me this past day for their help. And I would not be able to do this without my teachers, my English teachers, social studies teachers, even science and math has impacted who I am.
You're filling my heart. And I love what you say because I say it all the time that real change in our community doesn't come from highfalutin politicians with megaphones. It comes from everyday people using their everyday minds and their everyday voices. Though I will tell you, I'm not convinced that every high school student group of friends would be like, hey, the premier's coming to a panel, let's sign up and go. Though I wish they did, and you can always sign up and come to ours as well. No, that is amazing. What's next for you? What are you going to do with all of this?
I believe that I there is only so much that I can do, so I am simply calling for anyone interested or willing to support this cause to personally email their MLA and spread the word, and for students to take some student action, and whatever that might be.
I love it. I love it so much because you're inspiring others to stand up. And, I just want to say, I do want to address a little bit of the substance of what you were talking about around education. I'm always reminded that when the Progressive Conservatives took power in 1971, Peter Lougheed set some really audacious goals for Alberta. And one of those goals was that we have the best public education system in the world. We're still the richest, excuse me, we're still the richest province, but we spend the least on public education per capita of anywhere in Canada. And as you've well said, I should just ask you, what's your average class size right now?
I've never it is a bit different for me because I am
Because
taking
you're in IB.
diploma. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's one class where it's a specialized French class, so there's only about 12 people in the class and it's a tight-knit community.
yeah,
But it is held in the portables because our school did have to bring
yeah,
in portable classrooms last year because the capacity inside the school is just not enough.
yeah,
Um, there are also classes where they've had to take down the divider. There's a curtain between classrooms
yeah.
in order to increase class capacity. Yeah, since 2019, I don't believe I've ever been in a class with less than 35
Yeah,
students.
I've heard that there's even science IB classes at your school that are approaching 40 students now. And that's IB, right? That's a specialized program that you've got to get into. So, class sizes have never been larger, classes have never been more complex. And I'm hearing now that 50% of teachers, new teachers, will leave the profession in the first 5 years. It doesn't matter how many you hire if you've got a huge hole in your bucket, which is being caused by poor working conditions. So, the most interesting thing about this horrible situation we're in right now is people are so freaked out, people are so stressed, and I have yet to find a single person who blames the teachers, who are saying, look, they're doing their best, but you got to treat them fairly. And that's where my heart is. That's really where I am. But the good news is, Evan, today, the premier and the education minister and the finance minister made a big announcement. Everything's going to be okay because they're going to give some parents $30 a day to send kids to day camps that do not, in fact, exist and cost, if they do exist, cost way more. But here's the good news, Evan, there are worksheets. You are going to get worksheets. How do you feel about that? That's going to help, right? And apparently, all the worksheets are from the internet from places like Khan Academy.
Um, you know, I I I am disappointed. However, there is that worksheets, yes, cannot simply replace teachers, and you cannot simply hand a student a packet of notes and say, "Oh, you can self-study." And this is something that's even being in IB, we are forced to self or not for us. I guess I decided to take the IB by myself.
Mm.
We are forced to self-study, and it is something. It's a skill that has to be learned. Many of my peers did not develop this skill back in like junior high or elementary school because they were honors students, right?
Yeah,
So when you start from a beginning and you try and develop good study habits, it's just not something that can be done in such short amount of time. And I won't make any comments on whether I think the $30 a day is adequate, but I will say that regardless of anything the government does in regard to um during the strike, there is no that this does not matter whether the strike goes on for a long time, right? Even if they were to give parents $1 million a day and say all the kids we're gonna fly in schools from other countries and just drop
right.
them in Alberta and hire new teachers, that is simply not a viable solution, not a sustainable solution for long term. And that's why my main points throughout all of this is that the impact to us students should be minimized and the effect that it has towards us should be decreased. There's already a mental health crisis among many high school students. We are like teachers, we are stretched too thin.
Yeah,
And if this strike goes on for a long time, that's going to exacerbate itself. So
yeah.
regardless of anything that's happening during this strike, the strike should be cut short of reduced in time.
Here's hoping. Here's hoping we got a plan to make that happen and to get to a fair deal for everyone. Evan, you're amazing. You are amazing. Thank you for doing this. You filled my cup today. And today is Truth and Reconciliation Day. And it's a day when we're reminded that in some ways education can do terrible harm. but in many ways, education is the path for all of us to succeed. I've always believed that I would be nothing without public education, and that our public education system is the foundation to build more and more amazing citizens like you. Evan, I have a piece of advice. There's going to be some haters out there. Ignore those texts and emails. Um, but I got to tell you, I'm looking at my crowd here, and these comments on YouTube are going to blow your mind. It's pretty amazing, and you are pretty amazing. And you have got homework to do, so I do not want to keep you too long. But I do want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for your advocacy for your fellow students. The impact that you've had today is going to go so far, so beyond, and together, I just hope we can end this quickly. And I want everyone to know that as stressful and chaotic and horrible as it is now, and as it may be if we do have a strike starting on Monday, I think parents and students know this. It's not your fault. It's not the student's fault. It's not the parents' fault. It's certainly not the teacher's fault. It's not the education assistant's fault. This is because the government has made choices. This is the government's fault. So, folks, as we wrap up, I am supposed to say like, subscribe, follow. So please do like, subscribe, and follow the account you're watching this on. Follow me, follow my 38 amazing New Democrat MLA colleagues, because we will continue to amplify voices of everyday Albertans and bring them to the fore and fight so that we can be better together. So thank you, Evan. Thank you all. May you have a little time to reflect on this Truth and Reconciliation Day and get to school tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Take care. Thank you for this
Thank
opportunity.
you.
Yeah.